All right, we are going to do more of what we have been doing, verifying trig identities. We're going to try to get the left side to look like the right side again. So the first thing I want you to recognize is this, the sign of a negative y. There is an identity for that. And this sign of negative y, as it should be on your identity sheets, the sign of negative y is equal to the opposite of the sign of y. So what I'm going to do is take this and I'm going to change it so it reads this instead.
So 1 minus the thing?
Yeah, so it's going to be not 1 plus a negative sign of y, we're just going to write 1 minus the sign of y. So we have 1 plus the sign of y times 1 minus the sign of y. Now, the brackets are only there because in this binomial right here, we have a set of parentheses. So they are just trying to show you that these brackets are just telling you that it's not parentheses as part of this part right here. So at this point, if you want to change these brackets to parentheses, that's the fine. It means the same thing. What do we need to do to these two things now?
FOIL.
FOIL. So we're going to go 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times negative sign of y is negative sign of y. Sign of y times 1 is the sign of y. And then the sign of y times negative sign of y is negative sign squared of y.
Did you go 1 times 1?
The middle
Yes.
cancel out.
Right. If you guys are there, if you are able to look at these two binomials and recognize that they are exactly the same thing, the only difference is the plus and the minus sign, the two middle terms are going to cancel out. By all means, avoid this extra step. These two are going to cancel out, leaving you with 1 minus the sine squared of y. You should look at this and know what it means. At this point, it has come up enough that you should know that 1 minus the sine squared of y is the same thing as the cosine squared of y. Another example. The tangent. Of pi over 2 minus x times the secant of x is equal to the cosecant of x. The reason I'm showing you this example is I want to remind you that when you see this, that is an identity called a cofunction identity, and it says this. The tangent, and looking at your identity sheets, help me out here, the tangent of pi over 2 minus x is equal to what? It's equal to the cotangent of x, correct?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to take this thing, and I'm going to replace it with that. So really what we have here is the cotangent of x times the secant of x, and we're going to try to make this be the cosecant of x. Cotangent means cosine over sine. So we have the cosine of x over the sine of x. We're going to multiply that by secant means 1 over cosine. They cancel out. These are too easy.
No.
1 over the sine of x is equal to the cosecant of x. The reason I'm doing these is because of this. These haven't hardly showed up at all, so I wanted to make sure that I pointed those out to you again today. All right, well, let's go to the hard example then. This is the last example. All right, cosecant of x times the cosecant of x minus the sine of x plus the sine of x minus the cosine of x over the sine of x cotangent of x is equal to the cosecant squared of x.
Okay.
Wow, I am not going to work on this.
All right, let's go. Tanika, what should we do?
Alright. Well, you already got those, those right first, so you just distribute that in.
Okay, good. Let's distribute this in. Let's do that right now. What is cosecant times cosecant? Cosecant squared. So we have the cosecant squared of x. Notice I'm starting to write a little bit smaller. Cosecant squared of x. Cosecant of x times negative sine of x is negative. Cosecant sine. Alright. Now, do you see this weird fraction here? And both of these things are on top of the sine of x. So what I'm going to do is separate them and make them two separate fractions, both over the sine of x. So this is going to be plus the sine of x over the sine of x, minus the cosine of x over the sine of x. Are you with me? Alright, plus, now, do you guys see how a lot of what I have written so far is in terms of cosine and sine? So there's probably a good chance that I should change that so it's in terms of cosine and sine too. So what is cotangent?
Cosine
Cosine over sine. So we have cosine of x over sine of x. Let's start cleaning this up a little bit. Cosecant squared of x minus, cosecant means 1 over sine. Can you grab the door, please? 1 over the sine of x. Cosecant is 1 over the sine of x. Times the sine of x, what just happened? They're going to cancel out. Sines are going to cancel out. So we'll clean that up in just a minute. Plus, what is the sine of x over the sine of x? 1. Now look at this. We have minus the cosine of x plus, minus the cosine of x over the sine of x plus the cosine of x over the sine of x. Cancel out. They're gone. I'm going to cross those right off. And this is what I have to work with now.
It's minus 1 plus 1, so those cancel out.
Okay. So we have cosecant squared of x. This canceled out to give us minus 1, minus from here. These canceled out, giving us a 1, plus 1. Which is exactly what I wanted it to be. So it looked awful, but it ended up not being so bad after all. Elizabeth, you can stop that.